Konnichiwa, I'm John Hornick. Welcome to my Japanese Faves series, where we'll cover every major type of Japanese food. This is my take on the Japanese home cooking dish called Shogayaki. Shoga means ginger in Japanese, and Shogayaki is usually made with pork chunks or thinly sliced pork. Instead of pork chunks or slices, I use bone-in pork chops, which are part loin and part tenderloin, and add sides of miso glazed Shishito peppers and seasoned sushi rice. And instead of quickly frying the pork chops and onions, I cook them more slowly to develop the flavors. Shogayaki pork is usually served in Japan on a bed of shredded cabbage. I use homemade coleslaw, which pairs well with the pork and the slow-cooked onions. Feel free to substitute pork belly or pork tenderloin, or even beef, chicken, or shrimp. So let's start cooking. Okay, now the first thing we're going to do is mix our marinade, and the marinade is made of sake, mirin, and soy sauce, or shoyu in Japanese, and we're doing a proportion of 2 parts sake to 1 part mirin to 1 part shoyu. So I'm using 1/4 cup of sake to 2 tablespoons of mirin to 2 tablespoons of shoyu. That should be enough for the 2 pork chops that I'm doing and the onions. But after we pour it in over the pork chops and the onions, if it's not enough, we'll make some more marinade in the same proportion and add it. Now we're going to pierce the pork chops with the fork. Why are we doing that? 1, it helps to tenderize, and 2, it allows the marinade to get down inside the pork. So we're going to do both sides of both of these pork chops. These are bone-in pork chops, by the way. They have the tenderloin piece on one side of the bone and the loin on the other. Okay, now we want to put our pork chops into the marinating pan, and I'm going to take away this board that we used for the piercing, okay? Then we want to pour in our marinade. And then we want to add the onions. Try to get the onions down into the marinade, but we're going to be turning this, okay? We're going to let this marinade now covered in the fridge for about 6 hours. And we're going to turn every 2 hours, okay? Okay, now we want to make the glaze for the Shishito peppers. I've already put about 1½ tablespoons of red miso into this bowl, and now I'm going to add 1½ tablespoons of sake and 1/2 teaspoon of Ichimi Togarashi, and then we're just going to mix that up. All right, now we want to sweat the garlic and ginger in a little bit of high smoke point oil. Now, this is going to go into the sauce for the Shishito peppers, but we're going to use this pan, and we're going to use this pan to cook the Shishito peppers. So I want to do the sweating in the same pan, so it adds some flavor to the oil that's going to remain in the pan, even though we're going to remove this ginger and garlic after it has been cooked. And we're going to add the garlic and ginger to the glaze. and mix it in. All right, now we're going to skewer our shishitos and tomatoes, and the skewers have been soaking in, they're bamboo skewers, and they've been soaking in water for a couple hours. And what we're going to do is we're just going to do one red shishito per person and 2 green shishitos. How do you get red shishitos? You let them stay on the vine longer. And they may even turn red after they've been picked. I think ours have been doing that. So we just want to, I'm putting all the stems in the same direction. Okay, we're going to do that with all 6 skewers. Right, now, starting with a cold pan, we're going to add the ginger. Spread it around a bit. Now we want to add pork chops. And the onions. And whatever marinade we still have in the pan. Spread it around. Now we want to season with some salt. And some pepper. All right, now we want to put this on low or maybe just a little bit below medium heat, because we're going to cook it gradually. And we're going to move the ingredients around a little bit from time to time as we cook. Okay, so we're going to cook all of these ingredients together in the pan until the pork chop is probably about 3/4 cooked. And we're going to take that out and let the onions and the marinade continue to cook a bit. Now, while the shogayaki is cooking, we're going to sear, or I should say blister, the peppers in a separate pan. We're going to put a little bit of high smoke point oil in there. We're going to get the pan hot until it's just starting to get whiffs of smoke. Now, a pan is almost ready to do the peppers. We're going to come back here though and check on our pork. It's pretty red on top. You can probably see that, right? Okay, so it's not quite as cooked as I'd like it to be. We're going to turn it over, let it go for just a minute or so, and then we're going to take that pork out. Meanwhile, we'll go back to our pan where we're going to sear the peppers and add them to the pan. Add a little salt. Little pepper. Now what to happen is we want those peppers to get blistered. Okay, so we're going to be checking them and turning them from time to time. Meanwhile, back at our pork, we're going to take the pork chops out and we're going to keep them warm while the rest of this cooks for a bit. Now what we're going to do is let this cook. In fact, I'm going to turn down the heat. It was on medium-low. I'm going to turn it down to low. We're going to cook this till it's almost dry. Let's go back and check our peppers. starting to get a little bit of blistering there, you see. Okay, as the skewers of the peppers and the tomatoes continue to blister, we're going to brush them with the miso sauce. And once they're nice and blistered, you can see some nice blistering here. Once they're nice and blistered, we're going to remove them from the heat, keep them warm until it's time to serve. Okay, it's time to plate up. We have a bowl here of sushi rice from the, I have a separate lesson on making sushi rice. And we're going to garnish that with a little bit of Ichimi Togarashi. Then we're going to put a little bit of coleslaw on the plate. That's going to be the bed for the pork chop. We're going to add 3 skewers. Then we're going to add pork chop. Leave the pork chop to the side a little bit so that your guests can see the coleslaw underneath. And then top with some onions. And there we have it. That is my Shogayaki pork chop with blistered Shishito peppers and tomatoes with a miso glaze, sushi rice with Ichimi Togarashi. Please, you can see photos of the final dish at my Instagram, which is at Chef's Apprentice, Cook Like a Pro. Please remember to subscribe to my channel, and thanks for watching.